Сайн байцгаана уу хүн төлөгчтэй. Өнөөдөр манай дефакто ярилцлагад Хиймэл оюун ухааныг уул уурхайн чиглэлээр яаж ашиглаж байгаа тухай яг энэ ажлыг хийж эхлүүлж тодорхой компани дээр ажиллаж байгаа мөн Stanford-ын их сургуулийн профессор тэрний дотроо хүн төвтэй Хиймэл оюун ухааны талаар одоо ингээд эрдэмийн ажил хийсэн ноён профессор доктор Caers оролцож байна.
Caers, Америк нэгдсэн улсын Калифорни мужийн Stanford-ын их сургуулийн профессор, Бельгийн Лионы их сургуулийн уул уурхайн инженер, геофизикийн чиглэлээр магистр, уул уурхайн инженерийн чиглэлээр докторийн зэрэг тус тус хамгаалсан. Тэрээр газрын баялаг хүртээмжийг тэгш байлгах, хүн төрөлхтний ирээдүйн төлөө ашиглах зорилготой Mineral X хөтөлбөрийг үндэслэн 100% сэргээгдэх эрчим хүч рүү шилжихэд шаардлагатай газрын гүний дулааны эрчим хүчийг хөгжүүлэх болон газрын ховор элементийн нөөц хангамжийн талаар судалгаа хийдэг. Геологийн шинжлэх ухаанд оруулсан хувь нэмрийг нь үнэлж олон улсын математикийн гео шинжлэх ухааны холбооны дээд шагнал Крумбейний одног хүртсэн. Stanford-ын их сургуулийн Mineral X хөтөлбөрийн захирал, Stanford-ын их сургуулийн дэлхийн бага аргийн шинжлэх ухааны профессор, Stanford-ын их сургуулийн Stanford-ын газрын нөөцийн прогнозын төвийн захирал, Stanford-ын их сургуулийн геологийн шинжлэх ухааны профессор.
Good afternoon.
Nice to be here.
So you are in Mongolia now. So what brought you to Mongolia?
Well, my group looks a lot at mineral exploration, particularly those minerals that are critical for the energy transition. And so all over the world, people are now needing to discover many more deposits of copper, nickel, cobalt, and lithium. In fact, according to some statistics, about 300 new mines will have to be opened by 2035. So we, as my group and together with Cobalt Metals, we are looking at several countries and continents. In fact, we're operating on 4 continents and 60 different assets. And Mongolia is potentially very rich endowed in these minerals, and certainly copper. You already have a significant copper mine in operation. And so I'm here to explore collaboration and hopefully work with universities, companies, government to accelerate also mineral exploration here in Mongolia.
Time is changing, technology is changing. Now it is so much change that instead of people, the artificial intelligence work, right? And I understand you are representing the new wave of exploration using all possible whatever data and finding more efficiently those minerals you are looking for, right?
That's correct.
Please tell us about this method you are using with.
Yeah, so Cobalt Metals was founded about 4 or 5 years ago as a company that is funded by venture capital. This is a very different kind of company funded by Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos. A company that started out as saying we are going to use a significant amount of data and artificial intelligence to do 2 different things. Number one is we need to understand where in the world are potentially large concentration of resources of these critical minerals. And then secondly, once we have identified potential areas, how can we most optimally explore those? And so one successful story already today is that Cobalt has discovered one of the largest and highest grade copper deposits in Zambia. And in large amounts, this is due to the use of, number one, artificial intelligence to ingest lots of amount of data, but also in combination with human intelligence, the understanding of things.
First, I understand it's for the first time venture capitalists are funding exploration, which takes a tremendous amount of money, capital, time.
Correct.
And at the end, may end with nothing. That's what is geology and exploration was about up to now.
Yes.
And the very fact that Gate Bissau investing in your company is a completely new trend. I think now everybody will move to that directions. And you said that with the AI you have found out this Zambia discovery, right, of copper, and what does it substantially changes in terms of methodology of exploration?
Yeah.
Before we used to have geology, first just you go with field trip, then that's on geophysics
Yes.
study, then you read back all these waves, it's a long term work, right?
Yeah.
So what are you doing that differently?
Very different.
Okay.
So as you say, the original traditional method is for, we call boots on the ground. So geologists going camping and collecting information, and not all of that takes a very long amount of time. And so now we need to accelerate this process. And so one way to use artificial intelligence is to, once the geologist picks up information in rock, identifies rocks, that information is directly sent to San Francisco, and an AI is ingesting that information and using models related to what's already known.
Before that, how you get that information? In which way differently than traditional geologists?
We still use traditional ways of acquiring data using geophysics, imaging waves, and geologists picking up rocks. We're not changing any of that.
I see.
We're just making that much more efficient and faster than before.
The processing of the data.
Yes, the process, and then also the indication, making decisions about where to go next.
Okay.
So traditionally, geologists would walk around over very large areas, takes a lot of time.
Yes.
Now we optimize this process by an AI.
Samples, then compare with this geophysics data, and after, usually in traditional geology, you go and drill to prove that that is correct. Will you do that?
You always have to do drilling in order to confirm deposits. But drilling is very expensive, and it takes also a very long amount of time. Some areas are not very accessible. So we've developed an AI called Intelligent Prospector that significantly reduces the amount of drilling time or the amount of boreholes that need to be drilled relative to more traditional approaches where people drill in regular intervals.
So it gives more certainty to the particular area to make a borehole, for example.
Yes, and I would say it uses more cleverly uncertainty.
Okay.
The fact that you are very uncertain in the beginning and that information that you get is going to help you reducing uncertainty around where deposits are. That if you know that better and that you use that better, you're making better decisions. As opposed to deterministic decisions and then finding out that you're completely wrong and you spend all this time doing exploration, there's just nothing there.
So have you been working other than Zambia?
So with Cobalt we...
you talked about the 60 different...
60 assets. In 20 different countries. We are very active in Australia.
Is it a public company?
It's a private company.
Not yet public company.
Not yet, but hoping in a couple of years, 3 to 4 years, to become a public company.
If not secret, how much money you have?
I get nothing.
Okay.
I do it for the science and I do it for the personal interest. I'm a scientist.
That's what is usually the scientists do.
I don't care for the money too much. Despite the fact that Zambia is probably $50 billion worth of copper in the underground here.
And most importantly, the drilling so many boreholes in vain sometimes. It's also environmentally expensive job. So that's why it's, in that sense, it's a good economy of
it
things.
Certainly is.
So we have this intelligence prospects about the drilling data, right?
Correct.
Then you go after drilling, say you found it, then you make a total estimation, etc. And that job, in the case of Zambia, how was efficient? I mean, compared with the traditional.
Well, in a way, we still have to adhere to the regulation that is existing in the world around how you make evaluations, economic evaluations. There's actually an Australian called JORC regulation that says you have to do this and that. What JORC doesn't say is how you need to be drilling. It doesn't say that. It just says that At some point, you have to include a qualified person,
Yes.
it's a third-party person that comes in and looks at your work
Yes.
and assesses your work. And all of that happened. After the drilling, Cobalt made its assessment, and then a qualified person came and made its assessment, and it was basically the same.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
This is their regulation to make sure that public investors
Yes.
are not wasting their money.
Yes, and then also, as you may know, there was a big scandal around gold in Canada where people were inventing numbers and that a lot of investors got burned out.
That's
So, yeah.
I think they have discovered in Canada. In many places they have not discovered. So
Yes,
many
yeah.
victims are all around
Many
the
victims.
world.
Yeah.
Jork, I'm familiar with the system. Several times visited PDAC in Canada,
Okay, yeah.
representing Mongolia in our miners, etc. After drilling, you have a kern, and you make it divided, and that data is also transformed in your case to artificial intelligence. That processing of this data, confirming the geophysics findings, how accurate is that AI analysis of the actual currents, right?
I mean the coring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also people are now using AI to investigate coring.
Yes.
Previously, coring data was done by hand, by geologists looking at it, with the micro glass and saying it's a coarse textured, gabbro, etc. So
And
now,
if necessary, they just break down that part and make a lab analysis.
and they make a slice.
Yes.
So now we have actually cameras and all kind of sensing technology that scans the cores automatically and processes all the information. For example, you may have had other cores before that were these particular rocks. And so if you now see the same rocks, then the AI can detect immediately the mineralogy and the grade concentrations
Well,
of
it
these
makes
rocks.
much cheaper and faster.
Much cheaper and faster, yeah. Because Cobalt has probably drilled around 45 kilometers of boreholes
Whoa.
in just 1 year.
What was the deepest one, by the way?
I think about 1,200, 1,300 meters.
1,200.
Yeah.
OT was found in 1,500, in Mongolia.
Yeah. Mingomba area was also drilling going back in 1950. So the Copper Belt has had lots of drilling. The Copper Belt is the area in the Congo and Zambia. It had a lot of drilling prior, but it was the AI of Cobalt that sort of discovered one particular area that looked special, that previously people had not been able to see because it takes just very difficult to process all this data by just by hand. Yeah.
Yep. So, are you doing any work in Mongolia and any deposit or?
Not yet. So I'm here to explore these possibilities. So at Stanford, I run a group called Mineral X, and there are several Mongolian students at Stanford, and they came to me and they said, we're very, very keen to collaborate with you. And so I have now one Mongolian student who is looking at the databases that are just being put online just this year about the old Russian data, exploration data that was done. And so all that information is available. And so we're starting to now look at this information and see what we can do with it. Pretty much the same as in Zambia.
Yeah. I remember many companies have been using all the Russian data. Well, when we say Russian data, it's joint data because
yeah.
Mongolian geologists were working. Unfortunately, not all data we have in this country. Some data are in Russia. And somebody who knows, they go and bring some things, and some made wealth, I understand.
Yeah.
Well, which is happening in this kind of changes of society and countries. In Mineral X, will you work as a Mineral X in Mongolia, or is it as a Cobalt coal?
So both Cobalt and Mineral X were definitely harboring interest. And part of that interest lies in the fact that we would like to extend our work into what we call porphyry copper deposits. So the Zambia copper is a sediment-hosted copper. It's basically copper that sits in high concentration, 5% almost in layers. And in here in Mongolia, like actually many parts of the world, South America in particular, there's a type of deposit that's kind of a magmatic intrusion that has been remineralized and changed time over very long times, and is very large and has smaller concentration of copper, around 0.5 to 1.5%.
Plus, it may stay very deep.
And it may, so the whole point is like, how deep is it relative to how much grade is there? And then also, you know, the mineability of the material, right? The geotechnical aspects are very important as well.
That's why, for example, OT reserve 70% underground.
Yes.
1,500 meter deep. And that's why it is expensive also to dig it out. Now, but Mongolians are now learning to work in very deep
mines where, you know, you're collapsing basically the rock.
When you will find the next one, we have a labor working for us. The other thing, only 3% of this large land, 1.5 million square meter territory, only 3% are explored properly.
Yes.
How about 97%? And it is, I mean, this country has, well, we had some ups and downs while using this 3% exploration and then consequently mining. But really the Mongolian government is now going to make more permission for exploration, etc. In that sense, probably, I don't know whether it's your part or not, how do you find the environment for exploration in this country so far?
Yeah, I don't have much experience with that, of course, but I do know what I hear is that the government is definitely very interested in getting investors from Western parts, third neighbor we call it, right?
There is no other way.
There's no,
other than mining, we don't have many interesting things that will be sold on the international market.
There's another country that has about 3 to 5% unexplored, and that is the Congo. So,
well, which Congo? Democratic?
The Democratic Republic of the Congo.
And yet they're producing so many minerals.
And they're already producing so many minerals. The reason I think why exploration has been extensive is because the kind of minerals we're looking for are going to be in significant demand over potentially 5 to 10 years from now. I'm talking about, for example, for lithium. We haven't really needed lithium at all, except for making ceramics, nice glass pots.
Lithium, you said?
Yeah, lithium. So lithium goes into
So we talk about copper,
batteries,
nickel,
lithium, rare earth elements,
and with this growing demand of the industries, with electric car, copper, etc., Mongolia. Now we are looking at the same directions.
Yes.
But we hope that we will have more OT.
Yes.
And we strongly believe that OT is a very small land compared with what we have. And there is next door another deposit, Harmakta, and we hope it is another maybe OT. We have also another one in eastern Gobi, also promising land. They have already found copper there, and they are preparing for production. And with your coming with your AI tools, we may have several OT.
Let's hope on that. I think what it also requires, of course, is more data acquisition, and so that could be data from just satellites, remote sensing.
Yes.
Where we have been using remote sensing data, for example, in Canada, in the Arctic area, which is a very barren area. So this is basically visual light, and you try to use the spectrum of a visual light to identify certain mineralogies or rocks. So I think that is something that people can always use, because much of this satellite data is public domain at certain resolutions. So I think that's like low-hanging fruit to start with. Beyond that, though, we need to also acquire more geophysical data. This could be, types of planes and helicopters you fly around with detectors and that can span very big areas and can sense what's underground.
In that sense, how do you find our remote sensing capability and today's database?
We're still looking into that information. Yeah, there's also a company where we're collaborating, a company called Excalibur that's also sponsoring our program, and they're I think also potentially have geophysical campaigns running here.
I understand this aircraft designed for this remote sensing.
Yeah.
Also, technology-wise, is being changed now.
Absolutely.
And we don't have this, I know, the modern ones. And the company you are mentioning probably can do it.
There's all kind of companies out there. They're doing very interesting things. For example, there's a company we work with that uses cosmic rays. There's basically when you have a big supernova explosion, you get rays, we call muon rays, and they go through the subsurface, and you can detect them in boreholes, and they can tell you something about the 3 dimensions of the variations in the Earth that you cannot see with planes or helicopters. So there's all kind of people
much more efficient, but this cosmic rays are not happening every day.
Actually, that is true. They're happening in different concentrations, but every second there's one ray going through your body.
Oh my!
Yeah, so
cosmic rays.
A cosmic particle. Yes.
1 second. Okay.
1 second. But sometimes when an explosion, supernova explosion happened, then you have more concentration. So yes, the amount of particles are small, but the detectors work for example, a whole week. So they keep detecting for a whole week, and so from that they can reconstruct what is the 3-dimensional variation. And if you have, for example, a porphyry copper intrusion, that's going to show up as a significant signal. So they're trying to make all of that much more accurate.
This sounds quite new.
Very new. This was also a startup company.
So it's working now already.
They are applying that for several types of deposits in the world. Yes, they cannot disclose where, but I know they are.
So what is your situation with in Zambia now? You have discovered, have you started, or have you made a feasibility, everything?
Yeah, so now we are going to move forward mine planning. And so again, we're going to use different ideas around mine planning, and particularly making mine plans not based on a single guess from a geologist, but based on potentially multiple guesses. And so we're hoping that by doing that, you reduce the risk of doing something wrong. Because the biggest cost in mining is when you find out that the grade's supposed to be and it's not there. And you have to dig more tunnels and so on. So we really are going to, again, use the same ideas around how do you plan something when things are not quite certain. And so with that, we're hoping to do the mine planning more efficient and then also faster. So we have an interest to start mining potentially as early as 2027, 2028.
2028. What was the concentrate of the Zambia?
5.2%.
Whoa, it's very high.
Yeah.
Very high.
Yeah.
And
so that's actually the grade. The numbers are not out. I know what the numbers are officially out. But the deposit is very similar to a deposit in the Congo, which is the Kamoa-Kakula deposit, which is the second largest deposit now in the world at a grade of about 5.2%, 5.5%.
So the sedimentary.
Sorry?
Sediment.
That's also sediment hosted. Yeah.
Open.
Yeah.
Mine.
So it's 100 million tons, 5.2% copper. That is the one in the Congo, and this one looks almost exactly the same.
The Zambia one.
Yeah, the Zambia
100 million tons.
100 million tons at 5.2% copper.
Whoa, this will be a really serious thing.
And now
5 times richer than our one. Huh?
Yeah, but you have more tons. So, and now Cobalt is now starting to drill next to Mingomba in Kankola West. So again, extending the same techniques. And
so by 2028, you will be producing.
That is the hope.
Plan.
Yes. Yeah, that is the plan, which will be very, very fast.
In terms of underground modeling of ores and its ore bodies,
yes,
the particular making differences of the concentrations in each ore body, There is already a computer model which
Yes.
you can do it based on your all part kind of drillings data. And with AI, what is changing?
There are actually in the petroleum industry today, I worked a long time in the petroleum industry. People are now building geological models using AI. And the reason why they do that is these models look more realistic than the classical approaches that people have been using today. For example, people are using a sort of analog deposits as an example to train on of how these, the shapes of these layers are going to be, because in Zambia, the shapes of these layers that contain the copper can be undulating quite a lot, which has to do with faults and things like that.
Yes.
So making those shapes more realistic can be done through artificial intelligence, and that also helps tremendously in the mine planning.
In understanding of the origin, the way how it was, the
Yes.
formation was.
Yes, so we have an understanding of the formation. That understanding of the formation is put into the AI, and that creates then more realistic interpolations of these borehole data than was before. Before, we didn't use any kind of information like that in order to do these interpolations.
So the petroleum industry people having more benefit from this AI modeling.
While the petroleum industry is bigger, has much more money, and it's in the way that the key in the petroleum industry is flowing the oil out through the wells, while in mining you have to mine the material.
Yes.
So you're much more sensitive in mining to the local variations. In an oil industry, they're much less sensitive to that.
That's why originally we made a separate two agencies. One is supervising petroleum industry, the other is mineral. But somehow our smart people they made one authority now, confusing everything. And speaking about petroleum, we have a petroleum reserve, and Chinese company producing now.
Yes.
And they keep saying that now the reserves keeps going down. And we need more reserve exploration and discovery, because we are making now a refinery in Mongolia.
Yeah.
So I think also Mongolia would be very interested to learn more. Probably more urgently, we need petroleum exploration in those areas where now they are already producing.
Yeah.
And there's a big layout in the country with several blocks, one close to another. And I think, just for your information, this country is now desperately need more exploration in petroleum.
Also, it's a challenging time in that way. Do you bet on petroleum exploration, or do you start betting on metals exploration? Because, as you know, the world will eventually, right? And that's going to differ from country to country, to wean ourselves off of fossil fuels. And so the question is, where is this balance of when we're going to explore for oil and when we're going to stop exploring for oil? So the investment strategies are going to have to be strategic. That if you put all your investment in oil and less in the critical minerals, maybe that's not the best idea. But there has to be this balance, I think, and that balance has to be different for different countries. Personally, I feel the United States, we are ready to go all renewables. We have the infrastructure, we have the ideas and the funding there. But of course, for other countries, this is going to be at a different scale and pace.
Jeff, you are at the right time, in the right place, because the people now more deeper understanding, in spite of some small storms in the glass of water. But in general, that's our deeper understanding now. The mining is an important part of our industry, main source. And that's now the politicians understand very well. And I hope with the new politicians, which we are expecting in the second half of this year, will be more favorable, more understandable relations to people like you and your company.
I hope so.
All right. So I wish you all the best in Mongolia.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me.
Find
Pleasure
good
talking
deposits.
to you.
Find good deposits in Mongolia.
Hopefully so.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you. За, хүн үзэгчдээ өнөөдөр бид сонин ярилцлага хийлээ. Тэгэхээр нөгөө Хиймэл оюун ухаан чинь одоо ингээд хайгуул руу орцсон. Тэгээ энгийн хүнээс илүү ухаантай болохоор айхтар сайн өргөгөөжтэй ажиллаад эхэлсэн. Тэрнийг төлөөлж байгаа том компаниудын тодорхой ялангуяа тэрний шинжлэх ухааны суурийн төлөөсөн хүмүүс Монголд ирээд ажиллаж байгаа юм байна. Ингээ би та бүхэнд Stanford-ын сургуулийн профессор Caersыг танилцууллаа. Баярлалаа.
Хам богдуул хатан туулгын хөвөөндөх цэнгэг агаартай бүсэд байрлалтай. Хүүхдэд ээлтэй хотхны төлөвлөлт болон эрүүл амьдралын хэм маягийн эрхэмлэгч та бүхнийг King Tower апартментийн 5 дугаар ээлжийн орон сууцнд урьж байна. Амар тайван амьдрал, аян давтагдшгүй